Hello and welcome to a video. My name's Keelan. I love the ocean. I'm like little baby Moana. I'm always waddling towards it going, I wanna see. I'm confusing my cat. And so whenever I find a book about, seafaring and pirates and stuff, I always want to read it. And this video is about two that I found and read that I did not like. The first one is The House of the Four Winds by Mercedes Lackey and James Mallory. And then the other one I have a lot more to say about, so it'll be second, is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. So I guess I'll just get right into it. Ow. So each color means a different thing. The pink is for pacing, the blue is for the use of language, and the yellow orange thing is just for other stuff that I didn't like. The colors are different in the other one because I ran out of sticky notes. So I'm going to start with the pacing. So the back of the book says, "The royal family of the picturesque nation of Swansgarda has been blessed by one son and 12 lovely daughters. Endowering them would put an impossible strain on the tiny country's treasury. Luckily, the royal family of Swansgarda are not fools, nor are they raising fools. Each princess has accrued a few practical skills, everything from espionage to archaeology, from magic to map-making. The eldest princess, Clarice, is now 18, and it's time for her to make her own way in the world. She's eager to see what adventures await her, or rather him, for Clarice's skill is in swordplay, and she travels as Clarence, a would-be fencing master. Clarence intends to try his luck in the New World and so takes ship, only to be caught up in mutiny followed by piracy. The ship's new captain is the charming Dominic, whose past holds a few secrets of its own. Clarence and Dominic are soon fast friends, and on the way to becoming more, but before Clarice can reveal her true identity, the reluctant pirates fall afoul of the sorceress Shamal, who claims Dominic as her own. She commands his crew to find a powerful magical object, a quest from which no ship has ever returned." So I thought that sounded really interesting. And this book is 328 pages. So the mutiny happens on page 83. That's fine. It's not that far into it. They don't become pirates until page 111. And then the quest that's mentioned on the back of the book is on page 197. This far into it is when the action really starts. The action that's mentioned on the back of the book. That really bothered me because I think if something's mentioned in the back of the book, it should happen in the first third. This makes it sound like the quest is the inciting incident, but it's really not. The inciting incident can't happen in the last third of the book. I'm going to save the blue for last because the language is also a thing that I want to talk about in the next one. So let's get back to the line on the back. Clarence and Dominic are soon fast friends and on their way to becoming more. So part of the curse that Shamal puts on Dominic is that he has this necklace that makes him only able to serve her, and that can only be removed by true love. And Clarence knows that she loves Dominic enough to break the spell. She says, well, the necklace, it turns into smoke sort of when people try to remove it. And he's choking and trying to remove the necklace, and she can't help him, and she thinks, if this isn't love, what is? How will I know it? Do I watch him die and know it's because I wasn't good enough? So she definitely knows that she loves him enough to break the spell and remove the necklace. But Dominic doesn't realize it until she stops pretending to be a boy. It says, For a moment she thought he would recoil in shock, disgust. Worst of all, he might babble some polite lies about being only able to think of her as Clarence and not Clarice, and while it was flattering of her to declare such an interest in him, he could never. But instead, "I love you," Dominic blurted out. "I thought you were Clarence, you see, and I thought it was friendship, only friendship, and you would leave if we ever got somewhere, and the sea is a hard mistress if you do not love her. I could not ask. If you had, I would have said yes," Clarice answered softly. "I might have said yes even if you did not ask. I've loved you for a long time." And this bothered me because I thought this was going to be like a gay book, and that was one of the things that I was interested in, and it annoyed me that it wasn't gay at all. I thought I would have more interesting thoughts than that. Now for the blue ones. So, on page 1, it says where Swansgarda is. In the Duchy of Swansgarda, nestled in a tiny valley in the Bourgogne Mountains. No, it says the Duchy of Swansgarda, nestled in a tiny valley in the Bourgogne Mountains. South lay Turkey, north lay Poland. To the east was the Russian Empire. And then I'm not sure if the other countries mentioned are real. And then on page 5, the early morning sunlight shone through the French doors that led out to the balcony of Princess Clarice's tower bedroom. So France exists, and so do other real-world countries. But then, on page 9, engraved beneath some sort of magic brooch or something, was the Swansgarda family motto, "Je me promène là où je vais." The first prince of Swansgarda had come from Wauloisin, and Waulois was still the official court language. That's just regular French. If France exists, why make French a fictional language called Waulois? And that's not the only thing that happens there. On page 149, this is after they become pirates, and so they're in this like pirate realm. The ship that they're on is called the Assassino, and they're looking at the other pirate ships, and there's one called the Vile Vixen and the Horrid Hangman. And Clarice says, "I don't think our poor ship is properly named to keep this company." And then Dominic says, "You're wrong. Her name means murderer in the Iberian tongue." First of all, that's just Spanish. Second of all, Spain is on the Iberian Peninsula in the real world. And third of all, I think assassino is a cognate of the English word assassin. And she's supposed to be smart. How did she not know that? Or like realize it? And then there's more Waulois on page 229. Clarice toasts to Dominic and says, "Nous irons où nous voulons." We go where we choose. And the Swansgarda motto is, "I wander where I will." So, oh yeah, about Iberian and Waulois. I already said the Iberian Peninsula, but also France was originally called Gaul, and in France they call the Gaulish language Gaulois, so that's probably where that came from, but it still annoys me. So this last blue one is more of a pop culture reference that I found. They're in like the pirate court, and Clarice says, "But surely it's better to live than to die." And that made me think of Pirates of Penzance and the Pirate King song, "Better far to live and die, under the brave black flag I fly." Yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. So now let's talk about the language in this one, kind of like a segue. As you can see, I have a lot more to say about this one. The language is still blue, but now the orange is pacing and the pink is just writing that I didn't like. So this takes place in a completely fictional world with a bunch of islands, and each island is its own kingdom. So the main one is called Midas, and the introduction to it says, "In Midas, the ocean glitters gold." And there's all kinds of gold and everything in it, and there's like this. So each ruling family has its own thing, and the thing for the people in Midas is that their blood is made of gold. It's not true, but that's just what everyone thinks. So there's the Greek legend of King Midas, and everything he touches turns to gold. And of course, Elian. Oh, I forgot to mention the characters' names. The main character's name is Lyra, and her love interest is Elian. So here's another country. It's called Idylio, and it's an extremely happy, peaceful place. Like the word idyllic, it means extremely happy, peaceful, or picturesque. Yeah, the kingdom says there's light in every corner of the earth, but in Idylio it seems closer to magic. So like everything's great there. Everything's all pretty and perfect. So there's a fictional language in this book called Seafaring. I don't know how to actually pronounce it. And it's just Greek. So one character calls another in Seafaring anthropinos, and the Greek word for human is anthropos. Where's my cat? And Seafaring is supposed to be a language that no human can speak. It has, well, they say it has a really guttural sound, and because the sirens speak it, it's banned in most human countries. And I just think it feels wrong to make a real language that actual humans speak a language that humans aren't allowed to speak. Oh yeah, there's also a kingdom of thieves called Cleftis, and klevo is Greek for stealing. Let's see. Right here, this isn't about language, but there's a printed typo. They spelled Lyra's name wrong. Most of the book is spelled with a Y, but right there it's spelled with an I, so they spelled the main character's name wrong in the book. I was wrong about the typo on this page. It's about how there's a quote there, but the quote wasn't over. She says, "You're not a queen yet. Don't think for a second that you can tell me what to do any more than they can." That should be the last quote in this passage, not that one. Lyra actually is spelled with an I. I was just thinking about Rogue One. Oh yeah, and all of the fictional countries' names come from Greek legends, or just Greek words, and then they make the language that humans aren't allowed to speak also Greek. It just feels weird. So now I want to talk about the pacing of this. All of these orange ones mark chapters. There's a chapter like every 5 pages, almost exactly every 5 pages, and that annoyed me a lot. I don't really know why, it was just annoying. And a lot of them are like double, so like they're in different points of view, so it switches between Lyra and Elian. And the first 2 chapters are both in Lyra's point of view. The first one starts on page 1, and then the next one on page 7. So let's go through and take out all of the double point of view chapters, and then see how many we have after that. Okay. So if you change chapters, if you make a new chapter each time, it's a new point of view. It looks like this, which I think looks a lot better. There's Santa again. Alright, now for the pink ones. There's a lot of writing in this book that I don't like. I'm gonna skip the first one for later. So, let's see. A lot of these are things that like connect to other things. So let's start with the beginning of chapter 6. I don't remember the last time I saw you like that. Like what? Put together. Put together, I repeat, adjusting my collar. Handsome, says Madrid. So this is an Elian chapter. And the introduction to this chapter is 4 lines of dialogue before we have any idea who anyone in the scene is. And I think you need to know who's in your scene when it starts. And then later, on the same page, Elian looks at himself in a mirror and describes how he looks. And that's just like the biggest Wattpad fanfiction trope. It's not a good way to describe how a character looks. I think it should have been Madrid explaining, instead of just saying handsome and put together. She should have said like, oh, your hair is like this and I've never seen it like that before, and your eyeliner looks good or something, because he does wear eyeliner. I like that. Here's another bad description of how a character looks. This is a Lyra chapter, and she's describing mermaids, which are different than sirens. Lyra's a siren, and she doesn't like the mermaids because she thinks they're like stupid, and she describes them as dark navy with slick fins and the bodies of eels. Their arms are covered in black gills like razors up to their elbows, and their stomachs form large, rigid muscles that press against skeletal breasts. How are breasts skeletal? They don't have bones. And this is a female author. It doesn't make sense to me. Let's see, what else is there? Oh yeah, on chapter 10, there's a Lyra. And it says, I scrape my fangs across my lips. I assume she means like, without scraping your lips across your fangs. Do her fangs move? And she's like, you know? Yeah, that annoyed me. Lyra also removes hearts and heads with her bare hands. Here's a description of her removing a mermaid's head. My fingers press deeper into the mermaid's skull and disappear inside her rainbow flesh. I can feel the sharp bones of her skeleton. The mermaid stills, but I don't stop. I dig my fingers deeper and pull. Her head falls to the ocean floor. It seems like her hand would be stuck in the mermaid's head, and if she pulled, then her body would go to the floor. But I don't know. I'm probably putting too much energy into this book that's not very good. At one point, when she's still a siren, because she becomes a human later, she tries to kill Elian. And this takes place after, like, shortly after that happened. Elian says, pieces of the siren still embedded in my chest. There's a circle of fingernails where his heart is. She never mentions that she left her nails inside his chest. And I feel like, first of all, that would hurt her. Not only him, but having her nails ripped out. But she never mentions that at all. She still uses her nails to rip out the siren's head. I mean, the mermaid's head. Let's see. So, chapter 17 is an alien chapter, and it starts with, I've never killed a begging thing. And then earlier, on chapter 6 again, he's killing a siren, and she's saying something, and he doesn't know what it is because he doesn't speak the siren language. And he says, I can only ever guess at what they mean. Insults, curses, pleas. In some ways it's best I don't know. So he admits that he might have killed begging things before. He just doesn't know if he has or not. So Lyra later tries to, well, after she tries to kill Elian, her mom, who's the Sea Queen, gets mad at her and tries to punish her by making her become what she hates most, which is a human. And so she ends up on Elian's ship. And he has this sonar that's supposed to like affect the mermaids and make them disoriented. And it affects her. It like gives her a headache. And she just doesn't like it. And then Madrid, who's Elian's friend, and I think the first mate, says it doesn't bother us much, us being the humans, but the sirens go mad on it, hits their nerves and disables them. So she is a human at this point, but she still is affected by the sonar, and I didn't understand that. So here's a thing. This is back to Idelio, that perfect country. There aren't any weapons allowed in there. So on page 133, which is slightly before the weapons thing, her outfit is described as, where is it? A ragged white dress pinched at the waist by a belt as thick as either of my legs, and large black boots that threatened to swallow my new feet whole. And then, so in that outfit, she's like thinking about how she could like sneak a weapon into Idelio, because all of the pirates are taking their weapons out and just putting them on the deck of their ship. And she says, if I can swipe one, then I can use it on the prince if he tries anything. But in this gown, there's nowhere to hide it. First of all, I thought it was just a ragged dress. A gown implies that it's like pretty and has structure. And second, I can think of at least 3 places. So there's the belt that's as thick as either of her legs, and then her large black boots that threaten to swallow her feet whole. You know, one in each boot. Yeah. So let's test it. Okay, so I've recreated her outfit as best I can. And I've also got an assortment of knives down here, and I'm gonna try to hide them on my person. I haven't tested this before, so Lyra might be right, but let's see. So we're gonna start with this little pocket knife. This would probably be the safest option if you're gonna hide it, because, you know, it's easily concealed and the blade won't hurt you. So let's start with in here. I mean, you can feel it if you like pat me down, but you can't see it. All right, now let's try it in the boot. You can't feel it, you can't see it. If there's a pocket knife on the ship, she should take that one. I can't get it out of my shoe. This is the next option. It's slightly bigger. I don't know if it'll be hidden in here. Let's see. You can definitely see that there's something in there. Okay, so the belt is not an option. Let's try the boot. Yeah, that works. Well, maybe not. I don't know if you can see it kind of poking out there. So, the boot, a knife larger than a pocket knife might not work. But this one is easier to take out. And the sheath stayed on it. So now I have these two. They're both wider than me, so the belt isn't an option. And they're taller than the boots. So that's not an option either. So for something that's about Dirk sized or bigger, she couldn't do that. Well, that was fun. And while we're on the subject of weapons, let's talk about this fight scene training montage in chapter 23. So Elian is trying to teach Lyra how to defend herself. He doesn't know that she's been a siren and that she was trained to kill as a siren because she's not a good fighter as a human. And so he's trying to teach her. He says, "I'm going to teach you how to survive." And so he shows her how to stand, as they're fighting, he says, "I twist away and bring my sword above my head, giving Lyra an opening to attack. She doesn't hesitate. Her blade comes down on mine hard." So when you go like this, pretend I have a sword in my hand, I put all my knives away, you're exposing all of your organs, except your brain, of course, but you know, your guts, your heart, your lungs. So if you're gonna do that, then your opponent should go for down here, right? And you'd think that since Lyra was trained to kill, she should know that, but she goes for his sword. This is a retractable knife. So even if your character is wearing armor, which neither of them are, he can't raise his sword above his head. But like this, look. Right in his ribs. Even with his armor on. So that was just a stupid decision on Lyra's part. And also Elian's, because those were real swords. She could have killed him very easily. And these are both supposed to be like trained killers. Why are they so stupid in a fight? Let's see. There's one character called the Engineer. He's the one who created the like sonar thing. And he's mentioned several times throughout the book. He's like a young boy who is part of a circus, but his duties are never explained besides the sonar thing, which already happens. And he's never given a name or really described. Like, Lyra gets injured and the engineer, like, sews her up, and Elian says, "I think how Lyra might laugh knowing that a rookie engineer will be stitching her skin back together." Why? What is the engineer? What does he do? It just doesn't really make sense to me. So there's this character named Yukiko, or sometimes Sakura, and at the beginning of the book, she's from a kingdom, like an ice kingdom, that they're trying to go to get this like artifact. And at the beginning of the book, Elian invites her to come to her kingdom with him. And then later, they meet her again, and she says, "I didn't realize the prince was recruiting new members." He just tried to recruit her. Why doesn't she realize that he's trying to recruit new members? And then shortly after that, Elian realizes that Lyra is a siren, and she was sent to kill him because he's a prince and she's the prince's bane. And he's like trying to put together all these clues he already knows, and he's trying to find past evidence. And he says, "We rescued Lyra from the middle of the ocean with no other ship in sight. When she first gained consciousness, there was something inexplicably enthralling about her, broken only in the moment when she tried to attack me. She spoke Saurian, which is the forbidden siren language, on the deck of my ship. And then there was another siren who begged for her life to Lyra. But there were so many more clues than that. I marked a few of them. If I can find them. I found clue number 4. Lyra says, "You once asked me to tell you something about the sirens you didn't know. There's a legend among them that warns of what can happen if a human were to take a siren's heart." And Elian says, "I never heard of it," and Lyra says, "That's because you're not a siren." This is before she revealed that she is a siren. And she says that she only knows this legend because she's a siren. Why, like, it didn't make sense why Elian didn't recognize that she was a siren. Here's clue number 3, that she is the prince's bane. Let's see. So she has similar nail marks in her chest to the ones that he has from her trying to kill him. So she has siren nail marks in her chest. I think because her mom tried to kill her. I don't really remember. Clue number 1 is that she speaks Saurian, and clue number 2 is her seashell necklace. I forgot about that. Only the sirens have these necklaces. So, yeah. So there's this big fight at the end of the book, and the resolution of it reminds me of the end of The Lion King 2, you know, where they're like in the rain. So Lyra basically says that like humans and sirens are the same, and there could be peace with both sides. Everybody just wants to live. It's basically exactly like the ending of The Lion King 2. Let's see, there are also 2 characters named Madrid and Kai. And they're in a relationship, but their entire relationship, they just seem like they hate each other. And it's supposed to be like cute. I guess Elian and Lyra are a similar way at the beginning. Here's a good example from the last chapter, chapter 43. Kai says, "Soon you'll be able to enjoy me in my full glory." Madrid arches an eyebrow at him, a smile well past coy on her lips. "Drowning, you mean?" Like, well, he obviously seems to flirt with her, but she never reciprocates. She's always just insulting him, threatening to kill him, and I don't understand why they're like in a canon relationship. Oh yeah, back to the weapons thing. After they get patted down to get accepted into Idilio, Lyra tries to fight them, tries to fight the guards, and Elian is sitting there. He's sitting on the counter of the scout station, one leg hoisted onto the wooden varnish, knee resting in the crook of his elbow. This is the crook of your elbow, and it says knee resting in the crook of your elbow. So, this is a bungee chair. It's not very good for this kind of thing. Is he sitting like this? That's what it seems like, right? That's not a normal way to sit. It probably means like this, but then I would say elbow resting on his raised knee. That makes a lot more sense, don't you think? Let's see. So earlier in the book, they're trying to punish Lyra's cousin because Lyra killed a prince on a day that wasn't her birthday. And they punish the cousin by also punishing Lyra, and I just really don't understand how this punishment works. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And then there's something inconsistent about how Lyra is described. So she has her left eye is red, and then her right eye is the color of the sea. And I think that's a cool trait. When she's human, she loses that. But yeah, her left eye is red. And then at the end of the book, she says, "Fire flickering in my right eye." That's the blue one. The red one is the color of fire, so why is the fire in the blue one? Yeah, I think that's all. If you also like books about the ocean, I don't recommend these two. You'll just be disappointed like I was.